The word hetero, which derived from Greek words hetero meaning other and trophos meaning nourishment. In heterotrophic, the plants don't have chlorophyll, so they cannot synthesize their own food on their own. Now we will see how to define heterotrophic nutrition. The mode of nutrition in which an organism cannot prepare its own food and it depends on other organisms for food is called heterotrophic nutrition. Why heterotrophic nutrition cannot prepare its food? The reason is some plants that lack chlorophyll and hence they cannot synthesize their own food using the raw materials. So what are the raw materials are there to prepare its food? They are sunlight, chlorophyll, water and minerals, carbon dioxide. And some plants may also grow in soil lacking in nutrients. Such plants depend on food produced by other plants. So they use the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Depending upon the mode of living and mode of intake of food, heterotrophic plants may be categorized into 4 types. They are parasitic plants, saprophytic plants, insectivorous plants and symbiotic plants. Now we will learn one by one in detail. Let's start with parasitic plants. The plant which obtain their food directly from other plants are known as parasitic plants. So the plant derives some or entire nutritional requirements from another living plant. So you can also tell the plant from which a parasitic derives its nutrition is called a host. In the picture you can see the yellow vein-like structure, that is the parasitic. A plant which lies on or inside another organism is called host and it derives the food from it. It is called parasite plants. Example for parasite plants are dodder plant. In the picture you can see the yellow color thread-like structure, that is the dodder plant. So dodder plant does not have a chlorophyll. It is in yellow color. So we can see from the picture it is in yellow color and it cannot synthesize its own fruit. It takes ready-made food from the tree or plant on which it climbs. The next example for parasitic plant is mistletoe. So it has green leaves to synthesize food. However, it depends on the host plant for water and minerals because this plant have lack of water and minerals, so it is depend for other plant. And also sandalwood tree is partially parasitic. It can be photosynthesized but taps the roots of other species for water and inorganic nutrients. So in the picture the climbing plant, which is yellow in color, looks like a thread-like structure, that is the parasite plant. And host means the tree is the host plant. So in a parasitic relationship, the parasitic plant always benefits, but the host plant is damaged because the parasite plants will obtain maximum amount of nutrients from the host plant. And even sometimes the parasitic plants rarely kill the host plant, and this would not be advantageous to them. Now we understand how parasitic plants derive its nutrients. It derives its nutrients from another living plant. That living plant we called as a host. Now we will see the next heterotrophic plant, that is saprophytic plant. Saprophyte plants are non-green plants which obtain their food from dead and decaying organic matter. The fungi such as mushroom, bread mold and yeast are saprophytes. In the picture you can see the fungi which is growing on the rotten wood of a dead tree. The fungi secrete digestive juices on the dead and decaying organic matter and convert it into the form of solution, and they absorb the nutrients from the solution. Thus the nutrients from which plants take in nutrients from dead and decaying organic matter is called saprophytic nutrition. Now we will see how to define the saprophytic plants. Saprophytic plants derive their nutrients from dead and decaying organic matter. Example for saprophytic plants are Indian pipe and coral root. Saprophytes plants are lack of chlorophyll and therefore they do not photosynthesis. So however what they will do, some roots of saprophytes have fungi, so we have already discussed that. They secrete the digestive juices on the organic matter, and these juices convert organic matter into nutrients which are absorbed by the fungi and are later used by the plants as food. Next we learn about the insectivorous plants. So the insectivorous plants have poorly developed root system and often they grow in nitrogen deficient condition. So So insectivorous have poor root system and they will grow in nitrogen deficient conditions also. So how they will obtain the nutrients? They obtain the nutrients by trapping, digesting and absorbing nutrients from the prey such as spiders, insects, etc. Examples for insectivorous are Venus flytrap, bladderwort, pitcher plant and sundew are some insectivorous plants. Now we will see Venus flytrap. Venus flytraps are usually found in bog soil. Bog means it is an area of wet muddy ground that is too soft to support a heavy body. Their leaves are open wide and bear short, stiff and sensitive hair. When anything touches this hair, the two folds of the leaves snap shut, trapping whatever is inside. The trap will shut in less than a second. In the picture you can see the insect is trapped. This is about Venus flytrap plants. Next we are moving to bladderworts. Bladderworts have tiny bladder-like structures on their underwater leaves. So bladders-like structures have tiny vacuum trapdoors to catch tiny aquatic animals. These trapdoors are surrounded by hair to attract the prey. When an animal comes near the hair, the door snaps open in a fraction of a second, sucking the animal inside the bladder. Once trapped inside, the plant absorbs the animal's nutrients using digestive juices. The next insectivorous plant is the pitcher plant. It has a unique structure. Its leaves is modified as tubular pitcher-like structure that acts as a trap for the prey. The inner lining of the pitcher has hair that do not allow the trapped prey to escape. The fluid inside the plant contains digestive juices that digest the prey. The next insectivorous plants are sundew plants. So these plants are usually found in nutrient deficient boggy areas. Their sticky leaves are covered with long but thin tentacles. When an insect lands on the leaf, it gets stuck to the sticky substance that is called mucilage, produced near the ends of the tentacles. So the insect is then digested. Next we learn about the symbiotic plants. Symbiotic means there are two dissimilar organisms which live together in close association to get the mutual benefit. So that is called symbiotic plants. Now we will see how to define the symbiotic plants. It is a situation in which two dissimilar organisms live together in close association for mutual benefit is called symbiosis. Certain plants live in symbiotic relationship for their survival. The plants that are part of a symbiotic relationship are called symbiotic plants. Example for symbiotic plant is lichens. They are symbiotic association between algae and fungi to share food and other resources. We will see how algae and fungi share their food. The fungi obtain carbohydrates from the algae, which are photosynthetic and contribute the green color to the lichen. In return, the fungi help the algae to grow in harsh conditions. Another example of symbiosis is seen in leguminous plants such as pea or bean. So in the picture you can see the lichen plant and then the noodles of bean plant. So root noodles of a pea plant contain nitrogen fixing bacteria that is called rhizobium. Rhizobium helps in converting atmospheric nitrogen to compounds such as ammonia that are usable by the plant. So for us we have discussed the 4 types of insectivorous plants. And finally, we are going to discuss how nutrients are replenished in the soil. We know that farmers using manure and fertilizers to enrich the soil of their fields. So this is done mainly to replenish the soil with nutrients which have been used by plants for their growth. So the continuous usage of nutrients, especially in hydrogen, by the plants leads to their depletion in the soil. So nitrogen is required by plants for their growth, but plants cannot use the nitrogen available in the air. Rhizobium can convert atmospheric nitrogen into a soluble form. It requires a plant host as it cannot independently fix atmospheric nitrogen. So it lives in the roots of gram, peas, beans and other legumes and provides them with nitrogen. So in return, the plants provide food and shelter to the bacteria. So it is a symbiotic relationship where both plant and bacteria benefit. This relationship is of environmental importance as it makes crop production possible in nitrogen deficient soils without the use of fertilizers.